Hey guys, today today's like the ninth episode of the Python series. I decided to take a break from my math class and go back to Python again. At this time, we're going to learn some of the functions that we can use to add and remove elements in the list. Some of the well, some of the functions we'll discuss is the append, insert, extend, remove, and the pop function. Not only that, you can also use list slicing as well. Let's start with the let's start with list slicing. First you make a list like this one. You don't need to copy everything inside this list. You can make your own. You can make your own elements. Then you can then this we've already talked about this function way back when we met way back when I meant way back when I first mentioned list. This is just going to swap the second index. This is just going to swap the 10 with David here. David here, because you give the index of the list you want to change, and they will and you want to put the thing here that you the new input. You can say that the 10 here is the old input and the David is the new input you want to add. Uh, but dude, if this is the index of the list, three should be in here. Why 10? Why 10? Because in norm well normally we would use the first index. We'd say the first index as 1, the second index as 2, and the third index as 3, and so on. Basically, for the nth index, we would normally say we knew the index is n. But in Python and any other programming language like this actually counts for the index is actually n minus 1. If I want if I want to get the get the fourth index, get the fourth element, I need to actually put 3 instead of 4. Because if I wrote 4, the program would just think that I chose the fifth element. Uh, in other words, in other words, the computer uses 0 to denote the first term of the list, and then and then and then and then the second index as 1, the third index as 2, and so on. So for the computer, for any nth index, the computer writes it as n minus 1. But in the last episode where the aforementioned slicing function, yeah, this one in the list episode, I only included the one of the three values, one of the three inputs you can add to this function. You can also add another function. The first input you can put here. This is the start index. For example, I wrote 0, so it's going to start at the first index. Then the 2 here is the end index. That is where I want the program to stop. For example, if I chose 2, the program will end at 10. The code will end at 10. Oh, sorry. It should. My bad. Sorry, my bad. The program will end at Charlie. Okay. Yes, it starts from 0, then it goes up 1, and then we'll end here. And then this, the final input you can add, the step value. What this does is basically how many steps the program should skip before reaching the maximum index. For example, I set the minimum point or 0. Then the step counter, this will go 2 instead of 1. So it will skip to Charlie. Instead of counting for Bob. Then it's going to go another 2 steps all the way to 20. I've made a description here. So that you can. I made a description here saying what the 3 input values do. Here's a description for the start index. Here's a description for the end index. Yeah, you don't need to read that. Okay, let's go to the append function. I may have mentioned this before, but the append function basically adds. But the append function basically adds the value you add in the brackets here into the end of the list. Yeah. To the end of the list. For example, if I wrote something like 1, 2, 3, then the program will add that 1, 2, 3 to at the end of the list. Yeah, no matter what you add, the program will add whatever you add at the end of the list. That means it's gonna be behind this 5 here. No need to explain even more. The append function just adds whatever data you add in the brackets at the end of the list you gave. Using the list name, you call this one using your list, the list you want to add, say list name. Then you add a dot append, and with 2 brackets. In that 2 brackets, you add whatever you want. You can have variables. in there too, as seen here. Now let's move to the insert function. This is a bit like the append function. It also adds elements to a list, but instead of always adding it to the end of a list, the insert can, for the insert function, you can control where to add. In the list. For example, you can put it using the insert function. You can add whatever the data you want to add behind the first element or the third element of a list. with the third element of the list. Let's look at how you can do that. Okay, so for the index function, you can add two you can add two inputs. One input is the data you want to add, and the second input this is the index of where you want to put it. For example, if you want to put it at beyond just 1, you gotta write 0. You gotta write 0. I've already mentioned before why you need to add 0 instead of 1. And well, if you didn't know why, maybe you were just paying attention, not to be honest. Okay, this is the final function that allows you to add elements in the list. The extend function. Uh, well, remember the insert function, right? Uh, it is only limited to you to add. Well, it has one limitation. It can only add one data. It can only add one. It can only add like one data, one piece of data, not multiple data, not multiple data. Well, the extend function is that, but you can add multiple data. But you can add multiple data, but you can't control where you can add it. No matter what you add, no matter what you put, it will put it. It will put it at the end of the list, just like the append function, just like how the append function does. For example, if I wrote a set of data in place of it and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's going to add that. It's going to add those multiple sets of data into that list. One thing to note about all these functions is that they don't print out that function on the terminal, so you can't see it. The only way you can see it is by actually using the print function to show the list. I use the format function. Go to I think episode 6 where we mentioned formatting text. Formatting text. Yeah, it's very neat. It's very neat if you want to combine a string with a variable you want to show. And so that's it for the functions that allow you to add. Now let's look at functions that allow you to remove certain elements from a list. Let's start off with the classic remove function. Let's start off with the classic remove function. This removes an element in the list if you enter the name of that element you want to remove. Say in this given list here, I want to remove the second list. That is index of 1. In the remove function, I then add the name. I then add the value of that. In this case, the value is banana. is banana with the capital B, with the capital B in it. You must add a capital B if the has a capital, if if the element you want to add has that or else you'll get an error message. Then if I then when I run the program is going to remove that element. You don't need to you don't need to input the index of where you want to remove it. You just add the name. You just add the value of the element of that element, and then the program will remove it. Pretty neat. Pretty neat. Oh yeah. If one tip of using the evaluate function, if you're going to add if you're going to input strings, then put it between like two brackets. Two inverted commas or two inverted double of the double apostrophes or apostrophes in your keyboard. In your keyboard, that allows the program to detect that this is a string and not some unidentified data type. Without those brackets, it will produce an error message if we're using normally typing it. Okay, we're almost there. So yeah, so the pop function, it's like the remove function, but instead of inputting the value of the element you want to remove, you write the index of the element you want to remove. In computer, not normal, if you get what I mean. For example, I want to use the pop function to remove the element from this list. That is cherry. Well, cherry is the third element of the list, but in computer it's actually index 2 because the first index because the computer assigns the first index as 0. So I enter 2 in the pop function, and then if I print out the list, you will see that that cherry is removed from the list. Now, before we end this video, I will do a demonstration of each program. This is the list splicing. This is the list splicing one. And give it a few moments to run. So I gave the original list, and then this modified list. This is where we swapped. This is where we swapped Alice and Charlie with Eve and Frank. Yeah, this is where we switched Alice and Bob with Eve and Frank. With Eve and Frank. With default, if you don't include the step if you don't include the step value, the default step value will be 1. The default step value will be 1. And then this one I included the step value to increase by 2. And then instead of converting say all of these, it only converted Alice and Charlie into the data I give it. Then here's the append function. This program will add whatever you add in the list by asking for the input. I give it using the input function. Very classic. I'm going to add say what do you guys want me to add? Okay, I'll add hello world. Oh, I forgot. We need to add quotations. It's going to give an error message if I don't. And you know what? I'll prove you. I'll just say hello world without brackets. See, it gave us an error message saying a syntax error. You're not limited to strings. You can add any data type. I'll write a tuple. You can write a tuple in there too. Then this is the insert. That is the insert function. It allows you to add one piece of data to any behind any index. I want to add like say purple with double apostrophe. I'll insert purple behind the first index. Behind the first index, and there we go. It inserted, and now purple is the first index. I'll try that again, but this time I'll write apple. Okay, no. Okay, try again. Go. Then I write 2. It's now going. And now apple is behind the original index of 2 or 3. It's now apple is behind that now. This is the extend method. Alright. To complete this number list, I'll just add the remaining number 6 and 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, what if I tried doing the same thing but using the append function? Will that work? Well, it does work though, but the lid but I use the tuple, so it but I use the tuple, so yeah. But I used the evaluate function, and then it considered it as a tuple, and then it added that. But it's kind of useful when you're it's kind of useful. But so what if you're not allowed to use to convert it as a tuple? What if you want to add? What if you want to just add those numbers? That is where the extend function comes in. Yeah, the extend function is not really that useless, you know. That is why it is here in the program. Duh. So okay, the remove function. I want to remove jackfruit. It is a fruit. It is a fruit. Closely related to durian, I think. Jackfruit. Okay. Maybe Sorry. My spelling was wrong. Oh wait. I forgot. You also need to use the string here too. There we go. There we go. There we go. Do not make the same mistake as me. Do not make the same mistake as me. And then finally, the pop function. I want to delete the element with the index of 1. That is banana. That is banana. Yeah, we removed it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos like these. I kind of made this like 1:30 a.m. So you gotta really appreciate the dedication I had I had to make. Anyways, I'm feeling kind of sleepy, so yeah, bye bye.